Hi guys, welcome to Big Loz Official. Today we're going to be talking about the Giants Live World Tour Final taking place on the 7th of September in Manchester. Today we're going to be going through the athletes, the events, and obviously my predictions for the show. So let's start off with the athletes. So unfortunately there's been a few people having to pull out due to injuries and other reasons, but it's still an awesome lineup. Starting with the one and only Matea Kowski. We've already said so many superlatives about this guy. He really is kind of, absolutely one of the best guys in the world right now. One weakness that we've talked about many times is his deadlift. It's getting better and better every competition, but he has to be a big favourite for the show. Then we got the living legend, that is Mark Felix, breaking world records at 53 years old, still competing against the absolute best in the world, and recently placing top 3 in a Giants Live out in the States. So Mark is coming into this show in great form. Next up we have Alexei Novikov, the absolutely brilliant Ukrainian. He's had a fantastic year, performed brilliantly at the Arnold's. He's had good performances, throughout the season. A couple of really good events in this competition for him as well, which we'll talk about in a second. Then we have the return to England of the one and only Robert Oberst. Such a great character, he loves to kind of play to the crowd. Doesn't compete that often, so it's nice to see him over here competing. He's got a few good events in there. He had a bit of an injury in his arm at World's Strongest Man. All healed up now and ready to take on the athletes and the British crowd as well. Next up, Adam Bishop. Adam, again, another guy who's had a great year. Obviously was on the podium at this competition last year. I'm sure he will want to go one better again. After that, we have the Strongman brothers. What a year these two have had. Made the final of World's Strongest Man. Tom has been absolutely superb all year long, as has Luke, to be honest. They've both performed really, really well in, almost every show that they've done. The fact that they're both competing in so many big shows as well, it's an amazing achievement. You don't often see two brothers as good as those two. Another fan favourite next is Mikhail Sholokhov. I don't think you can dislike this guy. He's just a warrior. It doesn't matter if he's injured. It doesn't matter, what's going on, how many competitions he's done. He will fight till the end.
He'd come out with one leg, wouldn't he?
Yes, he would. And he'd fail a lift and then he'd try again.
And he'd still smile.
Yeah. Next up is Kevin Ferris. American Kevin Ferris. He's had a good year as well. Had his first World's Strongest Man this year. He's competed in a few other Giants Lives, obviously in the States. And I've had a bit of experience competing against Kevin as well before. Look out for him on some of the moving events. Evan Singleton, hot off his victory in the United States, the Giants Live North American Championships. Evan performed brilliantly. I knew he'd do well. I didn't know he'd do that well. It just shows how much better he's getting every single time we see him. So I'm quite excited to see him. He's a big prospect for the future. Really couldn't say that.
Has Evan competed in front of a British crowd yet?
Not yet. This will be the first time in front of a big crowd for him, so
He's
it's going to be
really
a good
enjoy
experience.
it.
He will enjoy it. He's got that WWE background, so he's used to being in front of large crowds and stuff. It's not going to bother him in the slightest, and he'll play up to the crowd as well. I think he should put in a good performance.
Yeah.
Next up, really pleased to see this guy get an opportunity. Ben Brunning, Wales Strongest Man. Ben is a fantastic athlete. He's had a great couple of years. One thing I love about Ben is how happy he is all the time and how much he enjoys it. He's really good at coping with high pressure situations. Really impressive improvements over the last year. And I think he'll surprise a few people. He's not going to come in and win this type of show, but I think it's going to be great experience for him. I think he'll perform well on a number of the events. And he's just going to learn from the experience and get better and better. He really, the first time I saw him was 2 years ago at Britain's Strongest Man. And he just had a big grin on his face. He was happy to be there. But over the last sort of year and a half, 2 years, I've seen brilliant improvements in him. And he just won the official Strongman Games European qualifier. And that was some decent lifts going on in that. He beat Aaron Page on the log, and Aaron's a big log lifter. His pressing's good, his deadlift's decent, he moves well. He's just a good all-round strongman, no huge weaknesses, and just steadily just improving year on year. And it's good to see him get a chance. And obviously, there's two guys in their 50s competing in this show. Nick Best is coming over. Nick's always a great character. It's great to see him back. He's another one that plays up to the crowd. He loves, the more people cheering for him, the better. And some good events for Nick as well. There's some moving events, and Nick's still a strong boy at 50 odd years old. Marking him, the battle of the old guys. Who's going to win? Right, we're going to look at the events next. Okay, so the first event is the dumbbell 4 reps. Giant dumbbell, 100 kilos, 220 pounds. For repetitions, I think they will have probably 60 seconds. Could be 75, but I'm going to guess 60 seconds. And this event is Kowski and I would say Novikov. Those two guys, extremely good at dumbbell. We've got other good pressers in there as well. Obviously, Luke Stoltman's a great presser. Robert Oberst is a great presser. But really, when it comes to dumbbell, Kowski, I've seen him do 150 kilos in front of me, which is just insane. He's extremely good for reps, as is Novikov, I know as well. He's very, very good for reps. But I think this event will go to Kowski. He's just so conditioned. His technique is superb. I've actually tried to mimic his technique on the dumbbell because I think he's so efficient with it. I think he's so steady. And with 100 kilos for 60 seconds, there's a chance that maybe a few guys will tie. I think the heavier it would suit some guys more. 100 kilos now is not so heavy on a dumbbell for these guys. And with only 60 seconds, it's hard to do. You really can't make a mistake. That's the only way someone will sneak in there and beat him, I think, is if he does rush it and make a mistake. And with that kind of weight, I think, someone like him, he's probably capable of, in 60 seconds, almost the same reps, whether it was 90 kilos or 120 kilos. So maybe the fact that it's a bit lighter might help some of the other guys out. But I'm going to pick Kowski on that, with Novikov definitely pushing for good points. And then, who knows, there's so many good pressers in there. Like I mentioned, Luke, and obviously Robert Oberst. Robert Oberst, much more, well known for his log lifting, but I'm sure he's good at dumbbell as well. I think Felix will struggle on the dumbbell. He'd probably prefer the dumbbell though than maybe like a log or an axle. Adam Bishop, again, his pressing isn't his strongest point. Same with Luke, sorry, if it was Tom. Both decent pressers, but not to Kowski's kind of level. Shivlikov, very good at log for reps. He'll be okay on the dumbbell. I don't think he's going to challenge the top 2, but he'll score good points. Kevin Ferris, I would say it's a weaker event for him. Evan's a good presser, and his pressing's coming up. But again, I really can't see anyone challenging those top 2 guys on that event. Nick Best doesn't really like overhead events, so yeah, first event I'd have to give to Kowski, with Novikov battling for second. So event 2 is the 350 kilo axle deadlift for reps. We've seen this a couple of times this year. We had it at Britain's Strongest Man. It was a bit lighter at 320, and then we had it at Europe's Strongest Man, which was the same weight. So who are the big deadlifters to look for? Obviously Mark Felix. He's had a great deadlift performance out in the States. He's always a good deadlifter for reps. He's someone you can't overlook Mark on a deadlift. Adam Bishop, very, very good deadlifter, pulled 440 at Europe's Strongest Man. I got that wrong then, didn't I? Wembley, they did the deadlift for reps. That's right, yeah. Europe's, they did do the deadlift for reps. Apologies. There's so many big competitions now, it's hard to
they merge into one when you go to them all, don't you?
Tom's deadlift's getting better. Luke, it's probably the one thing that cost him big points in Wembley was the deadlift. I think the fact that it's for reps will suit him a bit more, a little bit lighter. Shivlikov, great deadlifter. Evan Singleton's deadlift's coming up. But I think this will be a battle between Adam Bishop and Mark Felix. They're the 2 best deadlifters in the competition. Shivlikov is a good deadlifter, but I think for reps, Bish and Felix, both of them, it's hard to pick a winner out of those 2. They are both extremely good deadlifters, particularly when it comes to reps. I'd say right now Adam would probably lift a little bit more if it was a one-off max, but Felix just seems to not get tired in his back. He's got that endurance, and if he comes in confident, that's the big thing with Mark, is if coming in confident, he could do very well on the deadlift.
How do you think Matea will do on the deadlift?
We've spoken about his deadlift many, many times, and looking at the lineup, there's not loads of the top deadlifters here. So I don't think the deadlift's going to cost him as badly as it sometimes does.
No.
I think he can, you know, place mid-table on this event. And if he does, he becomes extremely hard to beat. His deadlift's getting better every year. You know, we always say Matea has a terrible deadlift. He doesn't, okay? The guy's got a great deadlift. It's just the standard in world-class strongman right now is that if you can't deadlift 400 kilos, you're not in the competition. And now there's so many guys that are kind of like at the 430, 440, 450, 455 mark, that it does become difficult if you do have, like, say, a 380 deadlift. But Kowski, you know, he did okay on the deadlift for reps at Europe's. He, you know, if someone like Thor was there, or you know, the huge deadlifters, Lissis at his best when he's deadlifting is awesome. JF Caron, those type of guys, it's a different story. But I think he can beat a lot of these guys on the deadlift, you know, and if not beat them, at least match them, which then still gives you enough points to carry you through for the rest of the competition. So I don't think, for once, the deadlift's going to cost him as badly as it sometimes does. Event number 3 is the car walk. And obviously I like this event a lot. I am the current world record holder on it. That could well be beat though. At this show, there's some excellent, you know, fast yoke car walk type of athletes competing. And it's 450 kilos. The world record is 11.05 seconds. I think there's a number of guys that could push it, which, you know, it's good to see guys kind of constantly evolving, constantly getting better. The number one, again, would be Kowski. For me, he's blisteringly fast. He's had experience on the car. He's come very, very close, actually, to the record a number of times now. I think he's got the closest to beating it. And, you know, he just seems to get better every year. So I won't sort of be, you know, confident that the record doesn't go. But we shall see. But he would be my main pick. But then you've got guys like Nick Best, extremely good at yoke type of events. Oberst is very good at moving events like the yoke. Evan Singleton as well, extremely fast athlete. He's getting better and better. Seems to be performing really well on yoke type events in competition. Just depends how he copes with the car. But he is over in the UK and he's going to get a bit of practice on it as well. And I think that will do him good. It's good to get a bit of a tester on these type of kits. The yoke swings side to side. So that's all you need to worry about with the yoke. With the car, it swings side to side and forwards and backwards as well. So it makes it a little bit harder. And if you haven't got the experience of using it before, it can be very, very tricky. The next event is the Hercules Hold. We've seen it a number of times this year already in some of the Giants live shows, and there is only one winner of this event. Mark Felix, 53 years old. He's proved his grip is almost unbeatable. No one's got close to beating him. The only guy that, you know, beat his record was himself, who beat it again in Wembley. He can hold it. He can hold these pillars for over a minute and a half, which is just insane. Whereas the absolute best guys, the very best in the world, you know, the rest of the pack are around the 50 odd seconds mark, between 50 and 60 seconds. Mark goes into the 80, 90 type, you know, range. It's just, it's like being 100 kilos ahead of, it's like being 100 kilos ahead of anyone on a static lift. He's just that good at this event. And it's not even an event that you can really make a mistake on. You know, you can maybe get like something slightly wrong, but it's not like the Atlas stones where a stone can fall off, or, you know, like you can make you know, silly mistakes you can make on a lot of events. This event, you just get there, get your grip right, and then hold on for dear life. And Mark is just the best at it. I feel like I have a good grip. I performed, it's the one event I did all right on at Europe's Strongest Man. Beat a number of the guys, and Mark was just so far ahead. I actually had to go first at Europe's Strongest Man. I was around the high 40s, I think 48, 49 seconds. Didn't really know what to expect from that because I was the first guy to go. Mark is the next guy to go, does a minute and a half. And I'm thinking, that was a rubbish performance by me. And then we had guy after guy after guy go that couldn't hit my time. So I know, you know, 50 odd seconds is a winning time against most people, but Mark just has this ability to just hold it for time and time again. It just, his hands are so big, he wraps those fingers around, locks that thumb in, That's it. It's not going anywhere. So Mark is the absolute man on this event.
Second and third?
Second and third is hard to pick on this one. The guys that have done well are Thor, Lysis and myself. And probably the next 3 or 4 guys on that event who've done it this year that have performed pretty well. And then a lot of the guys are really close, sort of low 40s to mid 40s, where most of the times have been. So it's going to be, this is an event that could kind of throw a spanner in the works.
I know at Wembley it wasn't a great event for Tom. He only got about 20 odd seconds. It was quite a damaging event.
Grip's probably his one weakness, but he's going away working hard. It's also Kowski's not done that well on it in these comps, even though he has a decent grip. You know, we say he's got a decent grip, and he does, because he's amazing at Farmer's Walk, but sometimes it's a bit different. He's so quick at Farmer's Walk that he doesn't have to hold them as long.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. I think his grip is good, and I think he'll score enough points. But I remember at Europe's he didn't do all that well on this event. It could definitely make the competition exciting, because I think he's the favourite. You know, looking at the events, looking at the athletes, I would have to pick him as the favourite. But you never know. You know, I've said that the deadlift's not going to cost him too much. That's if he performs well on this event. And it's one of those events, I think you could have a lot of guys very, very close. I'll tell you someone who I do think is good at it is Robert Oberst. He's quite overlooked for his grip strength, but I've seen him do Hercules Hold before at World's Strongest Man, and he was very, very good at it. So he could be someone that sneaks in and gets some good points.
What about Kevin
Ferris?
He's good at framing.
Again, I think he'll be decent. Again, he's so quick that sometimes a grip isn't as much of an issue. It's guys like Mark that kind of, you know, he's not quite as quick, but he just holds it and holds it. This is an event that's not so easy to pick after Mark.
Yeah.
But Mark is the guaranteed number one. It's probably the biggest lottery event in there. I think, you know, Sholokhov is decent. You know, Luke was very good last time he did it. Bish is decent. You know, Nick Best has got a good grip. Nick could do it. I haven't seen Nick do a Hercules Hold. Nick's grip is solid. That's someone. It seems to be like old man strength with grip strength. It seems to be the old guys that are pretty good at it. But I think Nick, Oberst, you know, those guys could definitely score some points with this type of event. Going to be a good one to watch. I think it's going to be one event that's a bit harder to predict. So the final event to decide the winner is going to be the Atlas Stones, as it is in every single Giants Live show and most other competitions. We all know my feelings on that if you've watched some of my previous videos. And it's not that I don't like Atlas Stones. I think it's a great event. I just would like to see something different occasionally. But anyway, I think they're going to use the heavier set, which is the 120 to 200 kilo stone run. Last year at Manchester, they finished with the 180. So I'm hoping they'll step it up to the 200 this year. And I think they will. The guys are so good at stones that I would expect them to use the heavier set. Kowski, amazing stone run last year, amazing stone lifter. Definitely one to look out for. And he's going to be fighting for the winning position probably, if not the podium. Tom Stoltman has proved how good he is at stones this year. He's another guy that's going to be looking to perform really well on this event. After that, it's going to come down to who is fighting for the podium. And I say this time and time again at competition, but it is that important. If you're fighting for a podium spot, you will try harder on the Atlas Stones. If you're not, you tend to sort of relax and think, you know, I don't want to hurt myself. I'll save myself for the next comp. And that is something that these guys will be aware of. There is still a number of big shows this year for some of these guys, and they're going to want to make sure that their bodies are fit and healthy to continue onto those shows. I'm going to predict Tom to win the Stones. Very, very close between Tom, I think, and Kowski. And then, you know, it's going to come down to who wants it, who's in a good position. Luke is a great stone lifter. Bish is a great stone lifter. Oberst is a great stone lifter. Felix is a great stone lifter. Novikov, you know, Evan Singleton. Everyone's a good stone lifter these days. But I would say Kowski and Tom are just that level above. So for me, it's going to be those two, top two on that event. And then I cannot pick the third. So looking at the results or the predictions that I've given for the 5 events, I think it's fair to say that I think Matea is the favourite. If I was a betting man, he'd be the man I'd be putting my money on. I think he's got 3 potential winning events. And then, like I said, I think his deadlifts, it's not going to be a disaster in this show. I think he'll tie or you know, tie with a few decent guys and score some decent points. The grip event, again, I think he'll be high enough on. And I think you know, when you kind of win 3 events, it puts you in a good position. And he's more than capable of winning 3 events. Felix, I've said, has got some good events and some not so good events, and that's normal for Mark. But he got on the podium in his last show without scoring any points on the overhead. This is a slightly higher caliber of athletes he's up against, but he's almost got a banker in the Hercules Hold. His deadlift is very good. He's pretty consistent in the car walk. His stones are pretty good. So I think he could be fighting for a podium position. You never know. I really think it could be a very tight competition between so many guys. You know, I haven't really mentioned Bish as winning any events, but Bish is the kind of guy that can be 3rd or 4th on every event. You know, he's consistent across the board, doesn't make a lot of mistakes these days. He's got great experience. He came 3rd last year in this competition. I think, you know, if he can score enough points on the dumbbell, Bish puts himself into a good position. Luke and Tom, both very, very dangerous, like they've been all year long. It's going to come down to small mistakes. It's really probably the tightest competition you've had, because there's no, you know, when you put a Thor in there, you put like a Brian Shaw, there's certain guys that, it doesn't matter what the events, they'll always place high. But this is a list of athletes that are all very, very close. And it's going to come down to who's better on the day, who's better prepared. You know, maybe some guys will overlook this competition in favour of other competitions. Other guys will be putting everything into this. These guys like Ben Brunning, he could throw a spanner in the works on a few events. Nick Best, he's got events in there that he's very good at. I think if you have one bad event for someone like Nick, which, you know, Nick's dumbbell is his weakest event, he could probably do very well on the other 4 events, but he's not Achilles Kowski that I think can, you know, definitely be top 2 or 3 or top 3 on certain events. Nick has 1 or 2 events he could be top 3, but he might not be. You know, he's not like Achilles Kowski on the dumbbell.
He's not a sure thing, is he?
No, if it was like a yoke, a normal yoke, I would put him a bit higher. I think he's very capable on the car walk, but he's never done that car walk, I don't think. So
it's very easy to make a mistake on an event like that as well.
Yeah, there's been some exceptional guys that have struggled on the transition because it is slightly different. You hold it slightly different. The way the car kind of fits around you is slightly different. So having that experience of using it before, for some of these guys, you know, the Stockmans have used it before, Bish has used it before, Felix has used it before, Kowski has used it before, Shivlakov's used it before. Those guys have that experience of using the kit, and that does make a little bit of difference. But it's going to be exciting. I mean, let me go through the list again. Kowski, Mark Felix, Novikov, Oberst, Bishop, Tom Stockman, Luke Stockman, Mikhail Sholokhov.
Michelle.
Yeah, I nearly went someone the other Russian. Now I've forgotten his name. Not Klokov.
Klokov? It's making people up now.
No, Misha.
Misha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's his surname?
Mikhail Sholokhov.
No.
Is there another Russian?
Yes, he was amazing, and now my brain's doing a fart.
Yeah,
Yes.
I can't say it. Kuklov.
Okay, guys, so that's my prediction for this competition. Not very decisive on a top 3, but I'm going to go with Kowski as the winner, and a real battle between a number of guys for 2nd and 3rd place. Let me know what you guys think. Comment down below. Please like and share the page, and we will see how they do in a few short weeks.